I had the privilege to sit down and ask questions with someone who is usually the one asking them. Rich Eisen, host of The Rich Eisen Show, longtime on air talent at NFL Network, who also has sat at the anchor desk of ESPN Sports Center. He's a father of three, husband to the talented sports broadcaster Susie Schuster. But beyond all that, he is someone navigating and adjusting to this crazy time in our world, just like the rest of us. We talked about everything from the passing of his late father to what his three children and Russell Wilson's newborn son, Wynn Wilson, have in common. I am from Seattle, so I grew up a Seahawks fan. So
Okay.
I don't know how you feel. I know that you are a Jets fan, so I don't know how
Yes.
you feel about the Jamal Adams
Hey,
trade.
you could make the case that Pete Carroll's one of the best coaches in Jets history, even though he had just a brief cup of coffee there before he became the Pete Carroll of USC, and obviously the Pete Carroll I think should be in the Hall of Fame one day.
Yes.
And I think Jamal Adams and Pete's hands and Pete's care and Pete's system, with the other people that the general manager John Schneider is going to put around him. I mean, they got a big time winner. They paid for him.
Yeah,
And
that's for
Jets
sure.
got the proverbial offer they couldn't refuse. So, I like Pete, I like John, and I know so many Seahawks fans that are going to love Jamal Adams. They're going to love the president. Plus, how can they lose? How can they lose when Russell named his son Win? How
Win.
could they possibly lose? How
I
could they
know, right?
possibly win?
You
I know.
better be a winner if that's your name. So,
Well, since you're talking about the Who, right? You're
yes.
talking about okay. So Win Wilson and also my three children have something in common, and it's not that their fathers and mothers are very talented people. It's that we have the same OB. They were delivered by the same
No
doctor.
way.
Yes.
That is
So
crazy.
yeah, pretty amazing. Dr. Bobby Katz was interestingly a Chargers fan. So
Okay.
he's got his own unique NFL, I guess, allegiance. But
Yeah.
just really good people. All of them are just really good people.
As you know, this Who Not Do series is a part of GALvanize, which is centered around women in sports. So, as the husband of Susie Schuster, a
Ah,
successful sports broadcaster herself,
yes.
how would you say that she's galvanized you? And what
Oh
have
God.
you learned from her, listening to her and other women in the business?
Oh my gosh. She is, I could not be who I am today and where I am today without my wife and her guidance and her perspective and um, her just general sense of professionalism that I've been able to, I met her at ESPN years ago when she was producing before her on-air experience. She's one of the best producers I've ever worked with, and I would be saying that if I wasn't married to her and she wasn't, my wife. And when ever I get up from the chair of my show, there's only one person I'd want to take the chair, and she has guest hosted my show numerous times, and I just love watching her do what she does, not just because she's so good at it. She just brings her own natural perspective to everything. Then, of course, just in terms of what she specifically does as a broadcaster and how many years she spent on the sidelines with TNT and ABC Sports and covering college football and the NBA specifically, just watching what she does and now watching anybody who's doing that line of work.
You know, as a veteran in this business, that it's a very demanding industry. And with both you and Susie having been married for almost 20 years, I understand.
Yes.
If you could bottle up one ingredient that you could share and give to all of us as we navigate life and work, what would it be?
You be yourself. Honestly, don't take no for an answer, but be yourself. Anytime you see me on the air or you you see my wife on the air, that's who we are. I mean, there's no airs put about it. I mean, if you make a mistake, you call attention to it. If you're feeling emotional, you follow that sensibility. Um, and that's it. I mean, the most successful people I've ever seen or been around in our industry are the person that you see once the light goes off. And I learned that early on in my career, and And it's served because honestly, if you're trying to be someone else, what happens when the you know what hits the fan and you have to actually act on your own instincts?
Well, speaking of being yourself,
Yes.
something I've seen and really appreciated about you and your work is that you're not one to shy or stray away from your real, raw emotions on your show. I think the segment you did back in December in honor of your dad really resonated and touched a lot of people. As a
Thank
broadcaster who shares so much of other people's stories, what was it a push out of your comfort zone to open up about your own?
you. You know what? That's the thing I love about doing my show is, it's if you're tuning in, I mean, then my name's on it. So you're obviously interested, I guess, at least spending there about what I might have to say, what's on my mind. And so I'm always an open book. I'm a bad liar. The good thing about if there is anything about being quarantined is I've been playing poker online with my friends through Zoom instead of being there face to face. It's not, you know, I may have a tell or two. I don't know. I just wear everything on my sleeve, and something like that happened to me, and I was, out of my show chair for a couple of days. And my dad was such an important part of my life, and he was one of the biggest fans of the show. I mean, the story I told, in eulogizing him was back when I was on ESPN. I had an opportunity through the Topps trading card company to get my own trading card, and so I took a photograph and they made up a card and they sent me an absurd amount of them. And so I gave, it might have been like 1,000 of them. I gave like 975 of them to my dad, who would, when people came to the house, would either see my face on the wall and or put two and two together with his last name and mine. And if they were a sports fan and knew who I was, would say something mostly complimentary, I guess. And my dad would just get such a major kick out of it. And he would give him a card. So, I would always joke with somebody who came to the house to help with the plumbing or the cable or whatever, if they were deemed card worthy by him, you know. So we're all have our fans in our family, and we're fans of our family. And when that happened, my dad passed, I just felt like I said something, and I knew that certainly what was going on in our world, in our polarized world, where it seems like the only thing we might be able to come together for is sports, where people from opposite sides of the political aisle might root for the same team. To talk about how my dad would just want everybody to just love one another and get along. So that's why I said something, and I appreciate you bringing that up. It's interesting how, Jackie, you're asking me questions that Laura would ask. Like you're like a perfect extension of her heart and soul.
Oh,
Like,
well, thank you. That's a huge compliment.
because this is, it sounds like your questions are exactly what Laura, Open would ask. And another person who I, got very emotional about on the air too is a great mutual friend of Laura's and mine, and Stuart Scott. I was on live TV when Stuart passed, and I got that news, and it broke me up then. It breaks me up now, just thinking about it.
Back when you did that segment with your dad, you had mentioned one thing that resonated with me when I saw it on Twitter and on the internet and on your show. You kind of gave a challenge and a request to your viewers to love and be compassionate, try to be understanding, and stand up for one another and be there for each other. So with everything that has taken place in 2020 and all these things being talked about, I feel like that message is so important, more than ever. And at the time when you gave it, you had no idea what was to come this year. So what do you think your dad's response would be to everything going on during this time, and a bunch of issues being brought to the forefront, for example, racial injustices and whatnot?
Yeah, I think my dad would want everyone to wear a mask. That's the thing. I know that, because COVID would have, sought out somebody with his, I guess, infirmities. That's, he would have definitely been in a very high risk group. And then obviously very dismayed at the polarization of what's going on in this world. And one aspect of NFL life from 4 years ago that I think definitely is better understood now. Unfortunately, it took the murder of George Floyd to bring it about, but and Breonna Taylor, obviously, and so many others. That kneeling during the national anthem is not kneeling on the anthem. It's not kneeling against anything except injustice, and it's trying to be something to bring light to a major issue of prime importance for a population of Americans who feel that the anthem should stand for unity, and it doesn't stand figuratively for unity when they feel the need for taking a knee because of what's going on in the world. And I think that that's far better understood now. And I am somebody who stands for the anthem. I'm somebody who makes my children take their hats off and stand at attention for the anthem. But I'm raising children who totally understand why the person maybe to their right or their left is taking a knee at the same time.
Well, with the incredible positive legacy that it seems like your dad has left behind,
Yes.
when you think about your kids one day being asked about their dad, what do you hope that they'll say about you?
Oh my gosh. I know right now, if you ask them, they would say my dad should be remembered for not letting us use our iPads nearly as much as we would like. But I think they'll, grow out of that maybe.
I think I saw a tweet you posted about your daughter flipping the script on you.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
saying,
it's your son.
saying she wanted to see my screen time, and how dare she do that? Yeah, you've done your research, Jackie. You've done your research. Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
I have. It's part of the job.
I know you come very prepared. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just, again, I just try to live my life the way that people would like to be treated. Again, that's the way I was brought up, and that I treated people with respect, and that whenever they were around me, they felt respected. I hope that's what they'll hear about me, and I hope that they feel that way about me again, even though I've taken away their iPads a little bit more than they would like during this quarantine.
Well, honoring your dad, you said that we're all going to be better to each other in his name and in his honor. So I hope that everyone who watches this interview, who got to hear a little bit more about him and hear more about you and the legacy you hope to leave for your kids, I hope everybody does just that. So
thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rich. Thank you for your time.
You got it, Jackie.